This is the fourth and final video looking at this question about the benefits of economic growth to the UK, but it's also looking at this point about the concerns that remain in the UK economy. And you need to talk in the question, as I've said in the other three videos, about why the economic growth will benefit the UK, why there may be some negative impacts for the UK, and then finally, what the relevance is of these concerns about the UK economy, which are addressed in the article above. And we're just onto the last paragraph here, one last concern. What we were saying before is that there's a problem because the economy is largely reliant on consumption to be generating this economic growth, and we have a deficit on the current account. And the final point to look at in this last paragraph here is about this problem of the UK's low productivity. This is sometimes referred to colloquially as the productivity puzzle in the UK. People are trying to work out why we have low productivity in the UK. This is saying that in 2015 it was about 20 percentage points below the average for the rest of the G7. They're the largest economies in the world, the G7. And this will mean that this deficit which the country is seeing on the current account is likely to continue, because if we have low productivity, this means that our costs per unit are higher. And this makes our exports less competitive. And therefore, we're likely to export less. And until we can address this problem of low productivity, it's unlikely that we're going to be able to export more manufactured goods, because our manufactured goods will be much more expensive than countries which have higher productivity rates, because our low productivity means our costs per unit are higher, and therefore the prices of our goods are higher. And this is the final concern to discuss in the answer. The last thing that you need to do, because it's an evaluate question and it's for the 20 marks, is you need to have a conclusion. And just to sum up what your whole essay has included, firstly, you've talked about the benefits of the economic growth to the UK, why there may be some negatives, and then you've said that there are also these concerns about the economy. So even though there are possible benefits, you can say that they may not last into the future. So in your conclusion, also, you could talk about the long run, and you could say that in the long run, because of the lack of exports of manufactured goods, and particularly because of the problem of low productivity, we might see the economic growth decline in future. You could also say that because in the UK we have a reliance on consumption making up such a significant part of aggregate demand, if there's a change in the future, for example, an increase in interest rates so that people can't borrow as much and they have to spend more of their money servicing their debts, this might mean that consumption falls and we might actually go into a recession. So a way of concluding is saying overall what you think will happen to economic growth in the future and whether these benefits from economic growth will be able to be experienced going into the future. That would probably be the best way of doing your conclusion. You could also give some suggestions of what the government could do so that the economic growth continues. So you could say, I think that the economic growth will continue, provided that the government, and then you could give some suggestions of what they could do. So for example, a way of increasing productivity in the long term would be to increase education and training in the UK, so that arguably productivity will go up, or by looking at what industry is doing to increase their productivity and perhaps having advisory boards which try to improve the productivity and look at other countries to see how they are increasing their productivity and how the UK can do that as well. And that will take you to the end of the question.